The legend of Hollow Creek. I've always been fascinated by urban legends. There's something about the mix of folklore and mystery that draws me in. So when I heard about the legend of Hollow Creek, I knew I had to check it out. According to the stories, anyone who visits the creek at midnight will encounter the spirit of a woman who drowned there a century ago. Some say she appears as a warning. Others claim she tries to drag you into the water with her. Last weekend, I convinced my friends Alex, Sarah, and Tom to come with me. They were skeptical, but intrigued enough to tag along. We arrived at the creek just before midnight. It was eerily quiet, with the moon casting an unsettling glow over the water. We set up camp a little ways back, making sure our flashlights and phones were fully charged. As we waited for the fated hour, we shared stories and tried to keep the mood light. But as the clock ticked closer to midnight, the atmosphere grew tense. Finally, the moment arrived. We walked to the edge of the creek, peering into the dark water. At first, nothing happened. We exchanged nervous glances, feeling a mix of relief and disappointment. Then, out of nowhere, a dense fog started to roll in. It covered the creek and the surrounding woods, muffling all sound. The air grew cold, and we could see our breath. Suddenly, we heard a soft, mournful wail. It was distant at first, but it grew louder. "Do you guys hear that?" Sarah whispered, her voice shaking. We all nodded, too scared to speak. The wailing continued, and we saw a figure emerge from the fog. It was a woman, her dress flowing as if she were underwater. She seemed to glide across the ground, her eyes locked onto us. Alex, always the brave one, took a step forward. "Who are you?" he called out, his voice barely steady. The figure didn't answer. Instead, she pointed towards the creek. The wailing grew louder, almost deafening. We all took a step back, but Alex held his ground. Suddenly, the woman let out a blood-curdling scream and lunged at Alex. He stumbled back, falling to the ground. We grabbed him and ran, the fog thickening around us. The wailing followed us, echoing through the trees. We didn't stop until we reached our car. Out of breath and terrified, we jumped in and sped away. We didn't say a word the whole drive home. When we finally made it back to my place, Alex was visibly shaken. "I felt something cold grab me," he said, his voice trembling. It wasn't human. We never spoke about that night again. To this day, I'm not sure what we encountered at Hollow Creek, but I do know one thing. Some legends are better left alone.